um, when she's able to have any conversation with family or a friend, that the cell that she's in has gotten down below like 50 degrees at night, or it's been up to like 95 degrees. And it's like she's not able to leave the cell except for an hour a day. And it's been really rough conditions for her. Now, the President Trump, has actually signed a pardon for her, but Colorado refuses to let her go and release her. And so she's still languishing in prison. She's been there for over 2 years, I believe now. And
wait a minute, you're saying Trump has pardoned her,
yes,
and the state has refused to honor that?
That's right. Yes.
I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know he could do that.
They are claiming that a presidential pardon does not overturn that state decision. So the governor has had so much pressure. There have been many people, thousands of people, that have signed petitions to put pressure upon the governor of Colorado to actually pardon her as well. And he's beginning to take a look at it, but it's been held up in court for appeals, and the whole system, the judicial system out there, they're fighting against what we believe is,
wow.
I believe it's election fraud. They believe that they're upholding election sanctity. So anyway, I just wanted to remind people that she's there. She's, I believe, a patriot. She has evidence that I believe will eventually come to light to prove that there was at least fraud in Colorado, if not other places. So anyway, just keep her in your prayers, and I'm praying that she is released soon.
Okay. Yeah. Her audio has not been very good. Is it me, or did you all hear?
Not very good.
Yeah, you've been breaking up, but I think we got it.
Yeah, Susan, if you could speak louder or sit closer to your microphone, I think it would help.
Okay. Maybe does that help?
Oh, yeah, that much better.
That sounds a lot better.
Okay.
But I think we kind of got the gist of it. Her name's Rita Peters, right?
Tina Peters.
Oh, Tina Peters.
Yes.
Where'd I get Rita Peters? Is there another? Oh, wow.
She's in COS, Dale. Don't bring her into that prison.
Oh, that's
system.
right. Yeah. She's our top legal person in COS, isn't she?
She is. Yes.
Okay. Tina Peters, and she's 71 years old. Didn't you say?
72 or 73 by now.
Oh, wow.
2 birthdays already in prison. So.
She's as old as John. Holy smokes.
No, she's not. I used to be 73.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't there still a few J6ers still in jail?
I think about her and pray for her each day, because I know it has to be difficult.
Yeah. To your point, Ken, I do think there were some J6ers that were not pardoned.
Okay. Not pardoned, and so they're still serving time. Yeah,
I think so. I don't know how many, but I think there were some that didn't get pardoned. But anyway, well, that's very interesting. I didn't know a state could refuse a presidential pardon. That's very interesting. Wonder if has that occurred anywhere else to your knowledge? Has anybody ever heard that happening anywhere else?
No.
I haven't heard that. All right. Debbie, I know you're going to stir something up here for sure. I know. And
I've never done that before, Dale. Come on.
Yeah, right. Just for everyone's information, after this segment, Debbie's coming back to give us an update on abortion across our country since post Roe versus Wade. So that'll be very interesting too. But
Stay tuned.
That's right. So Debbie, what's on your mind now?
Yeah, so I'm just talking about the plan to rebuild Gaza. Right now, they're going to call it Sunrise, Project Sunrise. And Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and a couple other White House aides have come up with a plan that includes luxury hotels, high-speed rail, and an AI optimized smart grid city. It's very interesting. I'm looking at a map. You can't see it, but basically they want to renovate everything into what we call smart city or smart cities. And they have something called IDPs cities, and that stands for internal displaced persons city. And there's like 7 of them dispersed throughout Gaza. There's going to be high-speed rail. They want to take that whole beachfront there and turn it into like, you know, kind of vacation area and a nice area like that.
Really?
So this is very interesting, kind of like a Mediterranean coastline kind of thing where people can go. Also, they want to. It's going to cost $112 billion over the next 10 years. Is what they're saying. This is just in their ideological phase right now. This is where they're thinking. Like none of this is for sure, but they have kind of got a straw man of what it might look like. It includes core infrastructure. So it'd have like modern telecom and satellite solutions. It would have a shared digital platforms. So common services for like data exchange, payments, signatures, notifications. It would have smart city services. And in case you don't know what those are, they say they'll prioritize digital platforms and services across urban management, utilities, mobility, and community support. And then the last thing is governance. It'll have like its own governance. We already talked about that. So that's kind of what it looks like. It's going to have tech-driven governance and services. They've developed this over the last 45 days or so. And yeah, it's a huge project. They said that I read this a little bit ago. Let me see if I can find it again. There's about 2 million Palestinians, but they came up with, they were saying how much rubble was in there. And it was like, I don't want to say what it was. Let me see if I can find it here. But it was like, I can't remember the amount of rubble they had to move out of the way. It was in the millions.
Yeah.
Millions of pounds of rubble, 48 million pounds of rubble or something. That has to be kind of pulled out of there. And then, you know, they level everything out and they kind of start over. And this whole smart city thing is kind of on the new end. So I don't know how many smart cities are going right now and what they look like and how well they're working. But you gotta remember, they want to share all the digital stuff. So that can be really good, but that can also be like a privacy concern too. So just something to keep our eye on. And when I report next week on the Board of Peace, I'll find out a little bit more about this and touch on that too.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because next week Debbie is going to update us on this Board of Peace. And is this part of the Board of Peace or is this a separate thing?
Well, the Board of Peace would be part of the interim governance and putting all this together and then even getting them started is my understanding, overseeing it. And then they're supposed to eventually pick a group of Palestinians to govern this area, but that's going to take some time and they're going to have to work with them and train them and teach them, you know, so that they're ready to hand that off and they feel confident that this those group of people can govern successfully. So yeah.
Yeah, is this just one city in Gaza? I mean, there are different cities in that.
There are, and so basically, there's a Gaza City, a northern Gaza Strip, and then a Deir el-Balah, and then a Khan Younis are the 4 regions. But within those 4 regions, there are going to be 7 of these IDPs cities where these displaced people can go and live. But the understanding is that
7 in each region or 7 total?
7 total over the 4 regions. 7 total of these IDPs cities over the 4 regions of the new Gaza. And the high-speed rail, all the data sharing and services and technocracy is supposed to go with it. So.
Yeah. This was basically Trump's envision, right? Wasn't it?
I don't know if it was just him, but he's sitting next to Bezos and these people at some of these. If you notice some of these pictures you see him with, or some of these things, he's got a lot of people that we might see as not very great people, but he does spend time with them and he does talk to them. He does stay on the cutting edge. So I'm sure he's in on it. I don't think it's his idea for the smart cities, but they're probably thinking, hey, this is a great way to try it out and let's see how it happens. We got to rebuild anyways. So he's probably got some of these elites that know what this stuff looks like, and he's met with them. And now his son-in-law, Jared, and Steve Witkoff are the ones that are kind of spearheading it.
Okay, who's paying for it?
That's a great question. They were saying that over the next 10 years, with the U.S. agreeing to anchor up to $60 billion in grants and guarantees on debts by raising industry funds. So that's the one thing that I did see about raising money. But that's all I know right now.
The U.S. would guarantee this?
That's what it says here. It says, where'd it go? Yeah, it says the total $112 billion cost would be spread out over 10 years, with the United States agreeing to anchor up to $60 billion in grants and guarantees on debts by raising industry funds. And by the way, earlier I said 48 million pounds of rubble, 68 million pounds of rubble. After 30 million tons, why does it, or pounds, why does it matter, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah. 68 million tons of rubble. Sorry about that.
So I heard someone say one time, with regard to the rubble, that they were suggesting that it be dumped into the sea and extend the beachfront out further. I don't know if that's
interesting.
I don't know if there's any credence to that or not, but what do you do with all that rubble? What do you do with it?
You could use it to fill all the tunnels that Hamas dug under.
Well, maybe so that would be part of it. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Would any of that be recyclable? You think?
Well, I would think you'd be able to, pulverize it down, but I don't know if everything's all mixed together. If you got pipes and concrete and all that together, it might not work. I just don't know how that works. That's out of my ballpark.
Well, I'll tell you, that's when is this supposed to kick off? Is there any target date for this?
Well, they're saying over the next 10 years, and they said here that the ambitious proposal was made in the last 45 days. And they're still consulting the security people in Israel over the path forward.
Well, who has to approve this? The Board of Peace?
And here's the thing. I think the Gaza rebuild is phase 3, isn't it? And we're in phase 2 now.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So we've got some time, but I know that these things take a lot of planning. So they probably are just, I feel like this is just the straw man. Like they're just like, what could it look like? But there's so much more detail they probably haven't thought of. And the money they're suggesting, 112 billion or whatever, is probably, their first guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of above my pay grade. I keep talking to my boss about getting a raise, but it's just to no avail.
Ken, just so you know, I keep promising Debbie, consideration for her Christmas bonus this next year. So,
get in line, Debbie. Get in line.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But it's a good thought, though.
Dale's all talk, no action.
It is the thought that counts, though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just in case any viewers are raising a question, we are all volunteers. At this level, we're all volunteers, but we like to kid about Christmas bonuses and things of that nature. So anyway, okay, well that's very interesting, Debbie. That sounds like a full-blown presentation at some point in time. I think.
Yeah, I volunteer Ken for that one.
Yeah, that'd be excellent. I agree. Yeah.
Debbie, you always say that you like to segue what you want to get into next, so I think you already volunteered. Sorry.
Yes, I know.
That is very interesting.
You know, based on that, I'm going to go ahead and post a comment, okay, just to support you, Debbie.
Okay.
All right.
And I can hear Dale, but not you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I didn't see the comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I'll put up one more time. He says, well, you guys deserve a raise.
See? We better talk to our boss about that.
Thank you, AK. I think it's Korea or Korea. Yeah, 7. Thank you. We needed that support.
Thank you.
Well, I think too that because this is such a high profile thing they're doing and the world is going to be involved, people are going to be watching. What are these smart cities? And are they good? Because I know there's other places that are talking about doing them in the future. So this could either work really well for the smart city proposals or it could be not so great.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you. John, what's on your mind, bud?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is the In Focus, right?
That's right.
And several hours ago, earlier today, what came into focus in my life was a medical condition having to do with the heart. Its formal name is atrial fibrillation. And the short version of that is AFib, okay? AFib, atrial fibrillation. Now, the atrium is the top part of the heart. And when it gets out of rhythm with the rest of the heart, it's called AFib, okay? Somebody made an astounding claim in my hearing a few hours ago that there's been a remarkable rise in AFib diagnosis in the United States ever since 2020. And something big happened, something world-changing, world-stopping happened in 2020, and it was the coronavirus, okay? So I looked up the stats, and I found out that in the year 2020, there were about 3.3 million diagnosed cases of adults who had AFib, irregular heartbeat. Now this condition is not terminal. It won't kill you. You can live your whole life with AFib. You'll just feel terrible because you'll be tired, you'll be exhausted, you'll be short of breath, you'll have any number of symptoms, but it's not fatal. It's just highly inconvenient and very uncomfortable for people who suffer from it. 2020, there were 3.3 million diagnoses of AFib in the United States. Today, there are 10.5 million cases.
Goodness.
That's an astounding increase.
Yeah.
It's more than 3 times the diagnosed cases of adults in the United States from 2020 till now. It grew from 3.3 million to 10.5 million. Now, I did a little bit of a research. I don't have my PhD in research, and I haven't had time to chase down all the rabbit trails. But the main science on this is that there is a connection between COVID, if you've been diagnosed with COVID, and an increased number of AFib cases. There's a connection there. Don't know that one causes the other, but if you have one, you're more susceptible to the other, and it goes both ways, vice versa. Now, the jury is out on whether or not the jab is related. There is some scant evidence that there's a possibility that the COVID vaccines might be related to this, but there hasn't been enough research, probably because mainstream science doesn't want to do that research, right? For a vaccine that was approved for emergency use. But by the way, that emergency use declaration has long since ended, and there are other viable treatments for coronavirus. Anyway, so I said, A, there hasn't been a whole lot of research into it, and B, because fewer and fewer people are getting the COVID booster shots. So there's a shrinking pool every year. I looked it up. Last year, 17% of Americans were current in their COVID shots. 17%. That's a tiny minority. The year before, it was 23%. So it's a shrinking percentage of the population every year is taking the jab. And so there's going to be fewer and fewer people who could be in a research study on whether there's a direct link between the vaccine and the AFib. But there is, scientists have found direct connections between the COVID infection and atrial fibrillation. And so that's just an interesting thing. It's not going to change the world. But you asked me what was in focus, and today that's what's been in focus for this old boy.
Sounds like a follow-up segment we need to bring Dr. Dan back in for.
He probably knows more about it than I'll ever find out.
That's a good idea, Ken. He probably, I'm sure he would have some insight into this.
Some insight on that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So John, just to clarify then, so you're saying, well, basically we have 3 times the amount of AFib now in 5 years.
More than three. Yeah.
Well, you said 3.3 up to what, 10 point something. So a little
10.5. It's more than 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So a little over 3 times the amount.
Yeah.
And so we don't know whether that came from the fact that somebody got COVID or they took the shot. That's what we don't know.
We don't know that.
Okay.
Now I have to throw out, given what has happened over the past years, especially with COVID, is the reporting of this stuff. Could there be some incorrect reporting or diagnosis or whatever?
Could the Pope be Catholic? Of course, I think there has been incorrect reporting.
Was it maybe incorrect prior to 2020 or since? I don't know.
I think there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation, especially since 2020, during and after 2020, a lot of that. And we will probably never know the full extent of it, but 40, 50 years from now, definitive histories will start to come out and eyes will be opened. But I would say a lot of Americans' eyes have been opened because only 17% are taking the jab. The word is out. You don't need that. Oops. Okay. We might get deplatformed. Ow.
Yeah. If you took out COVID from this whole thing, could it be lifestyle changes? Could it be other factors that could be contributing to this?
Well, yeah, some of the research that I didn't read any of the research, but I read reports about the research. An increase in hypertension, an increase in diabetes and obesity, those are all related to AFib. So, and as we know, those things have been increasing, but I really think with MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, and RFK Jr. Heading the Department of Health and Human Services, we're going to see a return to health in this country. I've noticed, I don't watch very many commercials, but sometimes I'm watching live TV and I have to sit through commercials. I've noticed a lot of these fast food chains are now promoting protein. You can go to Subway and get a protein pocket. And I tried that yesterday. My wife and I went out to Subway after church. I got a protein pocket. It was $4. And it had 21 grams of protein in it.
Really?
And yeah, for $4. And there was no, it was in one of those wrap things, a tortilla. Yeah. So anyway, that's Subway, but McDonald's, Burger King, they're all promoting protein meals now.
You can even go to Starbucks now and get protein added to your Starbucks. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I can't afford Starbucks.
No, I don't like the coffee anyway. I don't want to get too philosophical there, but
I'm not sure more protein is better. I'm not sure if you're advocating for it or not, but I feel like we're over proteining too, and too much protein is not good for you either.
Yeah, too much anything is not good for you.
Right.
Got to find a balance.
Yeah.
Hey, you talk about Starbucks. I was at my local bank branch here the other day, sitting in there and talking to someone. And I looked out the window and there was a Starbucks in this little shopping center off to at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the friggin' line of cars lined up. I was there early in the morning. This was about 9:30 a.m. The line of cars went all the way around and back through the parking lot of the shopping center.
Isn't that crazy?
And the banker that I was talking to, he says, "Oh yeah," he says, "that's every morning." He says, "You can't believe the number of accidents, fender benders that they have out there." So anyway, people love those $4, $5 cups of coffee. I guess I don't know.
7 and 8 now.
Is it 7 or 8?
$7 or $8 now.
Yeah, they're up there. But it
Yeah.
does make the point. It does make the point that these corporations are trying to get a little bit ahead of the Maha movement, I believe.
Yeah. So with all of that going on, who knows? We may see a decrease in heart conditions like atrial fibrillation, AFib.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Well, that's an interesting topic, John. Thanks.
Has nothing to do with Convention of States, but you asked me what was in focus.
That's what this segment's about. What's got your focus? That's right. Good deal. Ken, what do you focus on?
Well, initially I was really wanting to do something just totally, off the subject and the focus of most usual focus topics that end up on my platter. I was going to talk about IU National Championship, but I returned from my little trip this weekend to see that there was a protest rally downtown in Indianapolis with hundreds of people walking around the Monument Circle, doing their circle walk and chant. So it became part of my focus once again. And what I really kind of wanted to kind of focus in on is not only do some of these people not know what they're there protesting for, but a lot of them don't see the other side of what they're bringing into focus. So I kind of looked at that a little closer, and it goes back to the legal immigration portion and those people. And every time the topic comes up, I hear the same response from some of these people. They're saying, "Oh, well, they're working now, they're contributing, and they're raising families." And this has really nothing to do with what someone does. And I mean, the argument basically misses the point, is what I'm trying to say. It misses the point of the whole thing. And it has nothing to do with what someone does after they cut the line. So it's about who lost their place because of what they did. Think of citizenship like a movie theater with limited seats. Some people waited in line for years. They learned the language, they studied the laws, they saved money, and they even lived with sponsors. They followed the process because they believed America was worth respecting. The others, basically, they cut the line. So here's what people refuse to confront, and that's the fact that there aren't enough seats for everyone. Okay, so when someone cuts the line and takes a seat, someone who followed the rules no longer gets one. So it doesn't matter how polite the line cutter is once they're inside. It doesn't matter if they buy popcorn. They just didn't arrive. They displaced someone else. So someone who did everything right, this is the part that protesters in the streets fail to realize. Or perhaps they do and simply don't care. But if it is really the sworn duty of Donald Trump and the federal law enforcement to protect to protect basically the line. And the radicals, meanwhile, are attempting to protect those who stole their seats. So they're not protecting the victims; they're protecting the bullies. And that's kind of as I looked at some of these people marching around with their signs and what have you. I thought about some of the people, who may be coming, who maybe from their own family. I know people that talked about, their stepmother or their grandmother or their grandfather coming legally from Sweden or Mexico. Some came across through Ellis Island. Different generations, different borders. Same belief, though, that America was worth respecting. and both waited their turn. Some of these people of our ancestry lived with American sponsors while they studied and ultimately tested to become American citizens. And both were deeply offended by scenes of illegal aliens ripping down American fences and forcing their way through. Not because they lacked compassion, but because they knew that every time the line is ignored, someone who did it right is erased. So when it comes down to it, when people defend illegal immigration by saying, but they contribute now, or what they're really saying is cheating is acceptable if the outcome looks good later. And that's not compassion, and it's not abandonment. It's an abandonment of integrity. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Every job taken, every housing unit occupied, every benefit granted to someone who cut the line is something denied to someone who respected the system. So it's about honoring rules, effort, and fairness. And a nation that rewards cutting the line teaches one lesson only. Preparation doesn't matter. Patience is for fools, and integrity is optional. And that's not the American people sacrificed to join. That's the America people are watching disappear. And that's my focus tonight, is basically those that have tried to do this legally. And maybe there's something we need to do to shorten that, or make it a little easier for people to go. I know some of these things take up to 10 years for people to get their citizenship. But I just think for some reason that whole portion of our immigration system is left out of this. It's always the violence. It's always, the Donald Trump syndrome, whatever it is one side of these people, like many of our own, ancestors, did things the way that really it should be done. And and then when you follow that chain down to the point that, we've got drivers driving several thousand-ton semis who can't read an English sign or know the road rules, and the crime that has come from all this is basically because we decided it was okay to let all these people in and ignore the rules. So, hope I didn't go on too long on that one.
Well, you this has been on your mind for a while, hasn't it? It's gonna say.
Yeah. When you see these people that have been, basically smashed to smithereens by a semi truck, and the amount of people that are on that have been murdered. I mean, there's a huge list of women that we could go through, and I don't want to get into that because none of this is ever brought up. It's all the focus goes back to these protesters walking around, throwing snowballs and shooting off fireworks and doing their part to obstruct.
I mean, we've been seeing this. We've been seeing this for 4 years.
Yeah,
4 years, and now we're trying to do something about it, and we're faced with all the
right. And all I'm saying is, if you're protesting something, you should be protesting the way that the way you become a legal immigrant, or the way you become legal in this country. It seems like that's just lost in the whole conversation. I guess it's built for a while, and I really truly did want to forget about this, but I was going to talk about IU and winning a national championship, and that's going to be the next movie. So buy your ticket now.
It's got to be a movie. Got to be a movie, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway, very good, Ken. Well, we're getting close on our time here. I just want to. This immigration thing and Minneapolis and the and all the stuff going on, this has really got me. That's got my focus as well. There's no doubt about that. Did y'all see Battle Cry last night by chance? Mark Meckler, our leader, he brought up some. A good point. Evidently, well, I'm not even going to get into that. We'll talk about that another time because we're about out of time. The main thing that has caught my focus this past week is in New York City, the young man that has allegedly killed the healthcare CEO the judge in that trial has thrown out the death penalty, took the death penalty off the table for that individual, which I guess New York does have the death penalty, and it just made me think. I know I believe that in innocent until proven guilty. I understand that, but if this man is proven guilty that he stalked this guy and shot him in the back and killed him, then what do you have to do to get the death penalty? What else did he have to do to warrant the death penalty? Evidently, that for some reason this judge does not think that warrants the death penalty. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Am I thinking that, not thinking that correctly, or what?
I'm reading here that capital punishment has not been a penalty under state law in the state of New York since 2004. So I don't know, since the New York Court of Appeals declared the statute as written was not valid under the state's constitution.
Oh.
So I don't know enough about it, but it sounds like that there may be some answers there.
Yeah. I did a quick search on it, and the judge dismissed 2 of the 4 federal charges, the 2 that would have included the death penalty, and his or her reasoning was that the charges, get this, the charges did not meet the federal statutory definition of a crime of violence. Now, what kind of legal reasoning is that? When you stalk a guy and shoot him in the back, that's not a crime of violence. So I think this judge's decision is questionable, at least.
Is this being appealed? Do you know? Does anyone know? Is this being appealed? I don't know, but
well, they can't appeal until after the jury returns a verdict, and that's going to be years. Yeah. It's going to take a long time for this one to work its way through.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of time. We're out of time for this segment. Once again, very, very interesting. Thank you all for participating. And Debbie, don't go very far away. We'll be bringing you right back on. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
It was fun.
Good seeing you all.
Another interesting In Focus segment, Ken. I tell you, I really do enjoy those.
I hope we're covering some of the topics that the viewers find on their mind as well, and hopefully we enlighten some at that point as well.
But I'm with you. There's got to be a movie made on the national championship here.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of actors that would have been good to bring back, but I think they're long gone at this point, or at least no longer with us. But somebody's got to make the remake for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we could talk a lot more about that, but I want to get in a quick Marengo Mike reminder here on that QR code, and like and subscribe to our broadcast here. So
a quick one. It's a quick one. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very quick. Very quick.
The programs? Please follow us and be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you'll always know when we're live. Now back to the show.
Boy, that's about as quick as you can get. We got to make that a little bit longer.
Well, that one was for any of our In Focus segments that go over time, and we got to use a quick one to catch up. So that's what Marengo was thinking.
All right. Well, I asked Debbie Stewart to give us an update on abortion in our country since Roe versus Wade, the overturn, and that's been a couple years now, hasn't it? That has occurred, and I think you're going to find this very interesting. I kind of looked into this here a while back, and I think you're going to find this very interesting as to what has happened out in the states since Roe versus Wade was overturned. So let me bring Debbie back on, and let's see what she has to say for us tonight. Hello, Debbie.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a long time.
Oh, it's been terrible waiting this long. I'm telling you.
Debbie, what's the deal? No wardrobe change?
Yeah, I know, right? They only gave me a couple minutes in the green room. There were donuts there in the green room, and it was like
Yeah, it's not in the budget. We understand. I understand.
Oh, yeah. So
All right, Debbie, bring us up to date on what's the state of abortion in our country now.
okay, well, I'm going to have you pull that map up because that's going to help the viewers really see what we're talking about.
All right.
All right, that's perfect. Okay, so if you'll pull it up a little higher so they can see the whole country like that. Go the other way there, up a little. There you go, perfect. Okay, so we have 48 states plus the District of Columbia. And the darkest orange is the most restrictive abortion laws, meaning very few abortions, all the way down to the darkest purple or blue is the most protective of abortion. They have a lot more leniency on abortions, on some of the laws, the protections, things like that. So I thought
I just want people to look at this and just look at the variables here. I mean, we got 2, 4, 6, 7 categories, and all 7 categories are reflected throughout our country. This is very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, and if you think about it, all 50 states and the district get to come up with their own abortion laws. So actually taking 51 states plus a district and putting into 7 categories isn't all too bad, right? But it's interesting. This map kind of follows the blue and red and purple on the election map, because you see like the bright orange is typically your red states, right? You're very conservative. And then your dark blues tend to be your very liberal states. And that we would have guessed that from the beginning. They tend to go hand in hand. The more liberal states are much more open about and supportive of abortion. And the hard red states are the ones that are very restrictive on it. So that kind of follows hand in hand. And then we'll get into the 3 states that have stripes on them, Nevada, Ohio, and New Hampshire, because they're kind of in between. But the top 3, the oranges are the restrictive states, and the purplish blues are the much more protective of abortion laws. And then we have that striped 3 states in between there. So you guys have any questions before? Because if not, I'm going to kind of jump right into the deep orange.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the deep orange are the most restrictive states. There are 17 of them in there. 17 states out of the 50 plus our District of Columbia. And so the way this works is that abortion is completely banned with very limited exceptions in all 17 of those states. Now, a patient is forced to make 2 trips, one for in-person counseling and another at least 18 hours later for the abortion. So if they do get a limited exception, they have to go to 2 appointments, which is good. They got to think about it. They're putting that extra step in there. They're forced to get an ultrasound, even if it's medically unnecessary. They have to be able to see what's going on. The state Medicaid coverage and private health insurance coverage is banned, except in very limited circumstances. Okay? Because the reason I'm saying that is because we get down to the blue, Medicaid's like, have at it. Your insurance companies are required to pay for abortions in some of the deeper blue states.
Okay.
A medication abortion can only be provided after an in-person visit because the state bans the use of telehealth. So you can't use telehealth for abortion care. And parental consent is required. Only physicians can provide abortions for those limited exceptions, but no other qualified healthcare professional can do it. And abortion reporting is required. So lots of restrictions here, on somebody. They're trying to close the loop on nobody getting an abortion. Okay.
Well, and you can see our state, Indiana's in this category, right?
Yes. And at the end, I'm going to talk about what are some of the bills coming up for 2026. And I wanted to touch on Indiana real quick. A couple highlights of what some of the states are doing to put on for the election in November.
Okay.
Because some of them are trying to restrict them more, some are trying to make them more open. Okay, so those are the 17 states. Now let's go to the little bit lighter orange, the very restrictive. We only have 2 states. It looks like Utah and Nebraska. Okay, so so the very restrictive is very close, except for now, abortion is banned at 12 weeks or later. So you can have an abortion up through the 11th week in these 2 states of Utah and Nebraska. Patients are forced to wait 24 hours after counseling before they can get an abortion. And again, Medicaid and private health insurance coverage is banned, except in very limited circumstances. A medication abortion can only be provided after in-person visit. And again, parental consent is required for a minor. Only physicians can do the abortions, and abortion reporting is required. So very similar. The biggest difference is now you can have an abortion up to 11 weeks. Okay, so we get a little more lenient there, and just 2 states have that. Okay, so now, go ahead, Dale, you can say something?
No, I agree. Go ahead.
Okay, now we move into the restrictive. So this is just, there's some restrictions. It's still restrictive, but not anywhere near like the dark orange or the lighter deep orange states. And so here, state constitution protects abortion rights in this one, okay? Abortion is banned at fetal viability, generally 24 to 26 weeks of pregnancy, somewhere in there. State Medicaid coverage and private health care, again, is banned, except in very limited circumstances. Very similar. Okay, so parental consent is required. Okay, and a parental notice is required. So that's interesting, both because the notice, I'm guessing, is when they just tell the parents, hey, they're having an abortion, but I don't need your consent. Because when we get down in some of the other states, you're going to find out you don't need consent, which is really sad for a minor.
Yeah.
Only physicians can still do this, and then reporting on the abortions is required. So very similar, but now you can go up to 24 to 26 weeks of pregnancy to have an abortion. So you have a lot. Yes.
Susan just put in a comment in the chat. I'll go ahead and bring that up regarding one of those restrictive states, and that's Virginia. And she says Virginia's governor just signed off on full-term abortion legislation that passed.
Yeah. So this map is as of I think this was at January 30th. So I tried to find the latest one I could, but everything's changing so fast. Yeah. And the states are trying so hard, especially since some of them just had elections, and they're just now getting into office. I believe most of them get in office in January sometime.
Yeah.
So that may very well be what's going on there. But this was the policies as I could do the end of January 30th. Yeah. So she's probably got the edge on that, because she's been paying attention to that. So now they're at full-term abortions, and what we're going to find out when we get into these other blues and light blues or purples is that's where some of these are going full-term abortions. So, yeah. So thank you, Susan, for throwing that in there, because there may be some updates. Okay. All right. So now let's go to let's see, we said the restrictive, there's 8 states. That was the real light orange, kind of peach color. There were 8 of those. Virginia's one of those. Arizona is also. Now let's move into the 4th with the stripes in it. This was some restrictions and some protections. And there's only 3 states in this, Nevada, Ohio, and New Hampshire. And, I'm really kind of surprised about Ohio, because Ohio's just right in there it's in the Midwest. It's, I was born in Ohio and grew up there in the heart of it all. I just always remember so much conservative stuff. I grew up in Lake Erie, and it just seems to be turning, it's right on the edge of liberal, and that's been that way for a little while, but it's just right there in the mix, and then it just seems to kind of go more liberal. So, all right, so let's take a look at the ones with the stripes. Okay, so now abortion is banned at 24 weeks for Ohio, New Hampshire, and Nevada. A parental notice is required, so now it's just a notice. You still can only a physician can provide the abortion. The state statute protects abortion rights now, and state Medicaid funds cover abortion. Okay, so here's where the shield laws start coming in. The state has a shield law to protect the abortion providers from investigations by other states, and it may cover patients and support organizations. So more protections for the abortion, the person getting the abortion. Also, the state laws protect data privacy here. And you have to report it, but it protects your privacy in a much more privacy, I would say. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of the in between. Those are the three states that are vacillating back and forth. I can't figure this out. No, I'm kidding. All right. So now we're going to move into more of the liberal states. So we're going to go up to the very light purple, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. But on this one, there are 7 states plus the District of Columbia. So if you look out west, Montana is the only one that is the really light purple. And then the rest of them are around the East Coast, Alaska, Hawaii, and then the District of Columbia. Very light purple.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so let's take a look at, protective. So abortion is banned at fetal viability, usually 24 to 26 weeks. Only a parental notice is required. The state constitution protects abortion rights. Medicaid funds cover abortion. Now, instead of just a physician, any qualified healthcare professional can provide the abortion. Again, this one has the state provides protections from harassment and physical harm for anybody entering an abortion clinic. So now the protection becomes stronger, that you have to be careful not giving people a hard time going into the abortion clinic itself. And then again, abortion reporting is required for those 7 states plus the District of Columbia. So any questions there at all?
Nope.
Okay. All right, just have 2 more groups left. Let's go down to the very protective. So this is kind of the middle purple one. And on this one, we also have 7 states. It looks like Washington, New Mexico, Illinois, Michigan, Maine, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. Plus those are the 7. Okay, and on this one's, this is called very protective. Again, abortion is banned at fetal viability, 24 to 26 weeks of pregnancy. The state statute protects abortion rights. State Medicaid fund covers abortion. Now the private health insurance plans are required to cover abortion in these states. Again, any qualified healthcare professional can have an abortion. There's those protections from harassment entering an abortion clinic. Now this one has a shield law that extends to abortion provision through telehealth. So now they are protected. It protects data privacy. And this state law allows healthcare providers to list the facility name instead of individual provider names on the medication abortion drug label for privacy purposes. And again, they have to report the abortions. So you can see there's more and more protections for somebody who wants to have an abortion here. And then last are the most protective states in the very dark blue. There are 7 of those states. And so most protective, state constitution protects abortion rights, and the state statute also protects abortion rights. Again, a private health insurance and Medicaid will cover it. The private health are required to. This time, abortion is not restricted based on gestational duration. So you can have an abortion all the way up through the end of your pregnancy, is my understanding what that means. There's gestational duration. Only a parental notice is required. Anybody can do the abortion as long as they're a qualified healthcare professional. And then everything else is about the same. No harassment. You can do telehealth. They're going to protect your data, and they have to report the abortion. It is required. So that's kind of where the states fall, the 50 states plus the District of Columbia on abortion. Now, there's a ton of stuff coming up on the docket. Before I get into a few of those, do you have any comments or questions?
What did this map look like prior to the overturn of Roe versus Wade?
Ooh, that's a great question. I do not know that. Now, I should have looked at that, and I didn't even think about that. You had to ask me that, Dale, didn't you?
I know.
I'm curious. So as soon as we get done here, I'm going to go take a look at what it looks like. I don't know. I know that the states were always conservative before. The conservative states were conservative before, and the liberal were liberal. So that's a great question.
I mean,
go ahead.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm not very knowledgeable on this, but you know, just take our state, Indiana. What was it in Indiana prior to the overturn of Roe versus Wade?
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that we have a bill up on the docket. It's called Senate Bill 236, I believe. Yeah, Senate Bill 236. It's going to concern abortion-inducing drugs and abortion reporting. And but it'll also change the state's definition of abortion. If it's passed, abortion in the state of Indiana would be the act of using or prescribing an instrument, drug, medicine, or substance with the intent to cause the death of an unborn child. So they're making sure they cover every avenue that could possibly be used. It would update the definition of an abortion-inducing drug. It's calls this bill pregnancy policing at its worst, is what, some of the officials are from Planned Parenthood are saying, of course. It'll have a chilling effect on access to medication abortion in Indiana. And it's one, so of course Planned Parenthood hates this. They think it's terrible. This is a dangerous bill, because it all depends where you fall and how you feel about life. And, it's very interesting because I was thinking about, we've gone from valuing life to it's all about the life of the mom now. Nobody's talking about the victim, the baby. But look at the protests. Nobody's talking about the victims of these illegals and criminals. They're looking at, it's about the person, the illegal who's in here. So it's like it's extending from our viewpoint of life and who's entitled to life, went from the infant to only the mother, regardless. Infant has nothing to say. So no victim gets any kind of look at. And now in the protests, it's the same thing. It's this attitude of it's all about me. There's no sacrifice anywhere. And I just feel like, the meaning in life is about doing stuff for others. That's what gives us purpose.
So you're saying the protest seems to be about focusing on saving the criminal,
yes,
not protecting the citizens.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the mom is a criminal who wants to have an abortion. I'm not equating, but I'm saying that it's not about the life I'm taking. It's about my life as the mom, what I want.
Right. It's very self-focused, and the I won't call it a chant, but the terminology "my body, my choice" comes in so often, and it's my body, my choice. But what about the body that's inside of you? That person, that body has no choice. From biblical scripture, we know that God knows the name of that child, and the minute it's conceived, God knows that child.
Yes.
So it's often just completely overlooked. Other than, again, this whole, and I think that comes down to a whole moral decline we've seen in our country, where everything is just about self, and it's gotten us away from all kinds of what's really beneficial about life in general.
And even with our veterans, they're sacrificing to defend us, but we don't always value that. Like the whole thing of doing something for somebody, it's like, I'm going to give up something that I want for somebody else. There's life and there's purpose in that. And it brings joy to do that. Like, but people go around that and they don't want to do that anymore. So, yeah. Okay. So, how am I doing on time, Dale?
Got just a few minutes left. If you got more, are you done with the map? Are you finished with
the map? But you can leave it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sorry.
That's fine. No, you can. We don't need it up there. So there was just a few states like so abortion's going to be on the ballot in 2026, and there's some significant constitutional amendments on the docket for this November. Nevada, Missouri, and Virginia. With Nevada, Missouri, it could kind of reshape the entire policy they have. Virginia's potential ballot measure will depend on the legislature that is approved following the November election. So just real quick on Nevada, in 2024, the voters approved allowing abortions until viability or any time to preserve the life and the health of the mother. So basically, you can have abortion up till 24, 25, 26 weeks, but if the life of the mother or her health, then you can have it all the way up to the last day. And so, so now it has to be approved again this fall. It has to be approved in 2 even year elections. It was approved in 2024. If it is approved, it will become an amendment this November in Nevada. Okay, so, and then Missouri, they're doing the opposite thing. They're considering a ballot measure to repeal the abortion amendment that passed in 2024. Remember Dobbs versus Jackson in 2022, which threw all of the abortion things back to the states, right? So they have something called Amendment 3, which is the Right to Reproductive Freedom Initiative. It was narrowly approved, 51 to 48%. So it allows the abortion to viability, except to preserve the life of the mom. But what they found out is this is a real loophole. So a doctor could say at 35 weeks, oh, well, the life of the mom is in jeopardy. I can give this person an abortion. So now they are putting it back up, and they want to repeal the 2024 amendment, ban opposite sex hormones, and ban irreversible trans surgeries on minors. So this would prohibit abortion while including exceptions for medical emergency, rape, and incest only up through the first 12 weeks. And that's it. So opposite things. So Nevada wants to expand it to make it available for more abortions with that loophole, when Missouri is saying, wait, we don't want that loophole anymore. We want to get rid of it. Yeah, so that's basically it for those 2 states. So it gives you an idea. But I think there are a lot of other states that have things going on. And because it is at the state level, it has become a big thing to either change, get more restrictions or more freedoms.
Very good, Debbie. Very good.
So that's just a picture in time. And like Susan said, you know, Virginia just passed something. So that didn't, my map didn't catch it. So
Good. All right. Debbie, thank you very much. And as time goes on, I'm sure there's going to be even more changes. And so we'll have to come back and visit this again sometime.
Well, I think after November, definitely we'll see some things that change for sure.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Deb.
See you next week. Bye.
Let me get down here to you and I'll take you back to the lobby. Ken, you know, I wanted to play our timeless truths. Whoop, my camera just did
I was hoping it was the camera and not you falling off your chair, Dale.
I gotta kind of, I'm sorry, folks. I got
to tighten that somehow a little bit, maybe.
Technical issue here.
Technical issue with the camera. Yeah. Okay.
You know, I just noticed I had planned on playing a timeless truth. I don't think we downloaded it.
Well,
have you got that handy?
If I can look for it, if you want to play something else, I can go look for the timeless truth. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to play this Maringo Mike. We've got a new feature that we're going to do with Maringo Mike this year, and he's finally kind of got it together and put together a New Year's little video on what he's going to talk about and how. So let's go ahead and play that while you are looking for the timeless truth.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Mike here. We're coming to you from the Laugh Liberty Lounge, where we'll explore the absurd to the civil truths of our lives. Thank you for tuning in. 2025, the year the slogans cracked. With Duck and Heels, we promise to bring our country back. From the straight fairs to the summit, we choose a different road, a convention of the state's lawful, peaceful firm, not to burn it down, but to bind it back to the people it was meant to serve. And so I took a trip to spread the news to a city on the cusp, contain the fear, rebuild the trust, eliminate the rust. Maringo Mike here at Times Square in New York, hoping your New Year's Eve was special. As you can see, the night was electric, and the crowd was so receptive to me talking about Article 5, especially when the focus of 2026 was all about we the people taking back our government. Join our grassroots movement and volunteer to help save our country for the next generation. It's the only constitutional way to make sure our country remains free and prosperous as we drain the swamp of those who live for power and will do anything to retain it. As you can see, my trim was well received, but challenges lie ahead for New York and other states like her. It is why our message and constitutional solutions must go out. Our strength is in numbers. Join us as we make a difference.
All right. You're muted, Dale. I can't quite hear you there.
I'm sorry about that. There you go.
All right.
And we're calling that Laugh Liberty Lounge.
The Laugh Liberty Lounge. Yeah,
Laugh Liberty Lounge. With
Marengo's going to look at everything from the absurd to the things about liberty that Convention of States certainly supports.
Good for him. Good for him. As you all can see, Marengo Mike has revamped himself. He looks altogether different this year for 2026 and speaks altogether different. So
he had a bit of surgery that he was able to go through thanks to a new health plan that he was able to get.
That's what I understand. Yes.
Well, I have that clip now. If you want me to bring that up.
Okay, this is a new series, another new series that we've started for 2026, and we've already had a couple of these already. This is called series is called Timeless Truths, and we have an AI generated young lady by the name of Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth is the creation of one of our contributors, Ken Whaley, out of Idaho. So he's done a great job creating her, and I think she's going to be very helpful to us. So, Ken, you want to let Elizabeth give us a timeless truth?
Here she comes.
Here's a truth the founders built into the system. Power never votes to limit itself. So they didn't design a government that runs on self-control. They designed one with checks and a reset switch. That reset switch is the states. When Washington won't rein itself in, state legislatures can enforce the reset through Article 5. The people still have the final say because nothing becomes law unless 38 states ratify it. That's not overthrow. That's built in accountability. And look around. This isn't some accidental growth. It's deliberate expansion with more spending, more rules, more power dumped into permanent bureaucracies that no ballot can touch. Article 5 is how the states pull power out of the shadows and into the sunlight. Listen, if we won't use the appropriate constitutional tool, we're purposefully choosing the constitutional damage.
Was that it?
That is it. We didn't have the timeless truth wrap around that, but it's that was the latest from Ken Whaley on his timeless truth with Elizabeth.
Well, I'll tell you, we'll do a better job on that next time. That's my fault. I overlooked downloading that. So
that's okay. Well, I thought it's an excellent point that Elizabeth was making, and I think we'll continue to hear a lot more from Elizabeth and Ken Whaley.
Okay. All right. Well, our next segment has to do with Minnesota fraud, and I caught up with our comms team member David Punt, who lives in Minnesota, and he has agreed to kind of give us an update on the fraud situation in Minnesota. I think what you're going to find here is that you probably have already heard most of this going on, and David will will continue to give us updates. But right now, there's numerous investigations going on, so the information coming out is very limited, and he even talks about that in my interview with him. But so I'm gonna. This is an interview I recorded recently with David on the Minnesota fraud situation. So let's do that. We'll be back to you as soon as we're finished here. All right. Well, greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish. We're here today to talk with David Punt out of Minnesota. We're going to talk about fraud going on in Minnesota. You probably heard something about that. And according to David, the sanctuary city policy and issues playing a big role in this too. So we'll be covering all those bases. So let me bring on David and let's get started here. Hello, David.
How you doing, Dale?
Good. Well, David, I'm glad you decided to take this topic on. I mean, there's nothing going on in Minnesota, I don't think that is of any concern, but I'm glad you decided that you would talk about it anyway. I
live out in the middle of nowhere, up in the middle of the state, and about 15 miles away is a city named Brainerd, and there's a large Crow Wing County jail in the middle of Brainerd, and yesterday and the day before there were 300 people standing in this little tiny town next to the jail holding signs saying ICE out. I mean, it's just like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Brainerd has maybe 13,000 people.
And do you think ICE is really there?
Well, they are. But I mean, it's the instance or the case is that the Crow Wing County Sheriff is one of 5 or 6 counties, county sheriffs that have said that they will go along with immigration reform or immigration.
Is that right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they said, and it's been up to them, and up to the individual county sheriffs, and they can decide whether they're going to honor detainers for illegal aliens who are in jail, and if the county will send ICE a notice when their time is almost up, and they can come and pick them up. Usually give them about 2 weeks.
Isn't that the way it's supposed to work?
That's the way it's supposed to work. Yes. Yeah. But it's the Department of Corrections in Minnesota have made a big statement recently that they took a great umbrage that the Department of Homeland Security was saying they didn't keep their prisoners and then just let them go. Well, the Department of Corrections does do that. They honor detainers, and they've only released 6 or 7 in the last year, so it's a very small number. But Hennepin County and Ramsey County, 2 huge counties in the Minneapolis area, are not.
Oh.
They're just letting them go.
Okay. Well, is there any fraud going on in Minnesota? That was supposed to be the main topic. I hear there's a little fraud going on.
There is a little fraud going on. There's a case that was started in late 2025, and 78 people have been indicted so far. Now, the fraud stems from people, and most of the 78 are from Somalia. The immigrants that were brought in the late 80s, in the mid 90s into Minneapolis and St. Paul, primarily in Minneapolis, St. Paul, some in a couple of other cities around the area, but mostly concentrated in that area and mostly in Minneapolis and in the 5th district, where a Somali woman, Ilhan Omar, is the congressional representative.
Right.
You can't imagine how she'd have any trouble getting votes, right?
Right.
Because there are 90,000 to 100,000 of her kinsmen living in the city. Many of them have become citizens. Many of them have not. But it's to be seen yet where the fraud began. but generally speaking, it started around the same time that the COVID epidemic happened, and it was about people looking for daycare, child daycare, and so the Minnesota legislature passed a number of laws, and Congress passed a number of laws as well that Medicaid would pick up the cost for childcare. The what is somebody either forgot to put in or intentionally left out of, and that's to be seen as well. We don't know that for sure, but whether or not they left that out is some way to check to see if there's any kids there. and and if there's no kids there, then these people are just getting money to house empty rooms.
You mean there's supposed to be kids at a daycare center? Is that what you?
Well, that's the rumor. I've heard that.
It's
I've heard
kind of
that.
logical, I think. But yeah.
I don't have any kids myself, so I don't. I have no firsthand information. But eventually the money just kept getting larger and larger and larger, and it's been written about in local media for at least 2-3 years that many of these Somalis who came over here absolutely destitute, absolutely totally broke, are suddenly buying expensive houses and cars and boats and taking really, really nice trips. And some of these people are making millions of dollars every month. They're filling out forms, and the part of the program was not just childcare, but also a nutrition program,
Right.
where they would set up nutrition and would have locations out in the restaurants and cafeterias and private functions or activities like that, or cities, not cities, but locations. And they would supply documentation that said that they fed 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people, and then they would get reimbursement for the food and the delivery and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
In many cases, some of these locations were mailboxes, and they were post office boxes. And for whatever reason, and this is, like I say, this is part of the part of the trial, part of the investigation. How did this go on? How were you allowing Medicare payments or Medicaid payments to go to a mailbox when there were no people eating and there was no food furnished?
Now,
And
these seem to be well-intended programs, but they obviously lost control of them, and
well, again, that's to be seen. I mean, it sounds a lot like a huge Ponzi scheme that's concentrated in local government. Now, there's one guy that's been the head of the government all this time is Tim Walz, and now he's been very popular. He's been elected twice, 2 times the governor, and before that he was the congressional representative down in the southern part of the state. So he's got a political following. He was going to run for an unexpected, unpredicted, unprecedented third term this last summer. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he decided to drop out of the race. He said, I'm not going to run for governor anymore. Nobody knows why. I mean, my particular feeling is that the power structure, the Democrat power structure in this state, has decided that if Timmy runs for governor a third time, while this fraud information is coming out, while the case is piling up, eventually he's going to be tabbed with at least some of the blame. And whether he's got his fingers in the till or whether it's just a matter of he's appointed people that are allowing it to happen, it still doesn't look good. And it looks bad for Democrats generally. And Minnesota is a very, very Democrat state. It's very serious about its Democrat politics. I ran for office in 2008. I ran as a Republican, and I would go around and talk to people at their homes and ask them if they'd consider being a conservative. And I said, you are conservative. I know that because you pay your bills on time, you have a job, you show up at work every day. That's a very conservative kind of activities. And you go to church on Sunday, and it doesn't necessarily you have to be that. But I said, you're just almost as conservative as I am. And the answer I would get back is, yeah, but Grandpa voted Democrat and Dad did, and if it was good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And I just like, okay. I just like, I do you want to talk about issues? You want to talk about your family history? Yeah, it was a baffling idea. It was just crazy.
Also in that fraud mix, you mentioned daycare and nutrition program. There was I hear this transportation program. And do you know what that was about?
And it's still going on, and it's and there's also a portion of the small business loans that are being looked at very closely, and these are all being investigated. We don't know the level of fraud, but it seems like it's a lot because all of a sudden small individuals are getting very wealthy and not really supplying all that much for their dollar. The transportation was services that would be set up and reimbursed with Medicaid money to drive people to hospital appointments and doctor's appointments and that sort of thing. Now, there are a number of agencies, another number of groups in the state that do that for free, do that as a Christian thing to do. I'm a member of a group called the Interfaith Caregivers, and we do small things like that to drive somebody to a doctor's appointment. And we don't charge for it. I mean, and we could get reimbursement, but it seems like others are trying to take that away and then apply for reimbursement through the Medicaid system. Once again, how was it set up so loosely that it's so easy to fix, that it's so easy to double bill or triple bill?
Yeah.
I mean, and those are things that really haven't been decided yet. I mean, it's the investigation is ongoing and it continues, and more and more people they're not talking about it.
There's got to be a political angle to this thing, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah, I think there is. It's difficult.
I'm talking about money wise.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's and that, and like I say, that's very possible that's why Tim Walz is stepping down. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, has discovered, or some of his people have discovered as they're going through files, that some files have been backdated and some files have been filled out wrongly and some files have not been signed. And so reports have been faked. To what extent? I don't know. Because that's a part of the investigation now, that it's gone into the criminal aspect of the investigation. And these people are not leaking the information out, which is really good. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay.
Go ahead.
So basically the investigation is going on, and I guess there's really we can't come to any conclusions at this point in time until the investigation is really completed.
Mm-hmm.
And you have noted that it's very tight-lipped as far as the investigation, which is good.
Yeah, right. And to the extent that the Feeding Our Futures case continues, and there are new indictments all the time, and there are cases in trial. There are cases that are brought before a federal grand jury. So this is the gift that keeps on giving. More and more people are being brought in and unearthed and found out. I would expect that we will see eventually new cases in other areas. I mean, the reimbursement for travel expenditures, or uh, the the fraud that involves the Small Business Administration, that people are getting loans or grants that don't deserve them, don't have them coming. I'm thinking that there's other fraud investigations coming down the pike.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that on the fraud because of the investigations going on. But let's wrap this up, because I know you wanted to talk about sanctuary cities and how that comes into play here. So do you think, and I think we'll hold that for another time, but do you want to kind of wrap it up on that note, though?
Well, something that Tom Homan said just the other day, that in his press conference, so I think it was on Thursday, but he said that sanctuary cities attract people who are looking for sanctuary.
Sure.
Looking for people who have maybe bent the law a little bit, maybe have something to feel guilty about, maybe they've absconded with all kinds of money. That's very possible. I'm not saying that this is exactly the case, but it's easy for me to see that we're better to for a group or an organization or an individual to start a series of fraudulent activities than in a sanctuary city, right, where they can rely on protection based on something not based on their criminal activities, but based on their skin color, nationality, gender, all kinds of other qualifications.
Okay.
Because the arguments don't hold water. Yeah. I mean, and as we've been talking, I've been watching my Facebook feed, and I've angered a number of my fans with saying something that they didn't like, and there's people coming out of the woodwork, but their arguments don't hold water.
Yeah.
One guy recently told me this morning, he said, we just want to have people not being arrested by thugs walking around wearing masks. And I said, you don't see the badges? Do you see? I mean, they're all wearing vests, green vests, and they say a version of the word police.
Right. Clearly.
You don't see that? You've ignored that part? I mean, what part of that don't you see?
Okay. This is a whole nother topic, and yep. I want to bring you back another time, and we'll get into the sanctuary city policy and how it ties in with the fraud and other things that are going on. Okay.
Okay. Sounds
all
good.
right, David. Thank you very much, bud. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, that's a wrap on our interview with David on the fraud going on in Minnesota. And as you can see, sanctuary cities play a big role in this. So we'll bring David on another time and get into sanctuary cities. So everyone, have a good day. Thank you very much.
It was very good.
Yeah. Sanctuary cities plays a big role in this.
Oh yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but I think hearing it from David, who is a resident of Minnesota, makes it even better. So we're going to bring him back. We're going to do that in March. Got to pick one of our broadcast dates in March, and he's going to come back and talk about sanctuary cities, and maybe he'll have a lot more information by that point in time.
Well, and Minnesota obviously is the elephant in the room, but I think what's coming next is obviously where this is going to spread to. This is obviously, there's more sanctuary cities in the country, and there's more fraud going on elsewhere. So it's really, we're just scratching the surface, but obviously Minnesota's the elephant in the room.
I think that's the scary part. That yes, we are just scratching the surface. I think on this fraud issue, and fraud in America. I'll tell you, I believe it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I don't know that we'll ever get to the bottom of that. That's I think Doge was Doge needs to come back. Didn't someone get appointed to head up Doge again or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's not totally dead. I think it's something that there was a new person appointed, and again, we haven't heard much, but I think it's I think especially with some of this happening in Minnesota, people, I would hope people want to get to the bottom of this and find out how much wider spread it is, because obviously, again, this is taxpayer dollars, and you and I and everybody else that pays taxes faithfully certainly would like to see a little bit more.
Well, Ken, it's just like you were saying about immigration and your movie theater
comparison
analogy. Every dollar spent, every dollar that goes fraudulently is a dollar that doesn't get to someone that really needs it.
That needs it, yeah, and this the whole cry by those that live behind the compassion and all that they hide behind really is I think that's the sad part, is people just get sucked in by that and don't look any further, and that's the reason that we get people standing out there basically I mean, again, I have no qualm with people standing on the sidewalk with their sign and their bullhorns and singing and kumbaya with a guitar. That's all fine and good, but there's a point where you become a criminal when you cross that line and interfere.
When you cross that line, it's crossing that line.
It's crossing the line. I mean, you've got that right, and you can stand there all day long. Even when it goes down to 50 below, you can stand out there and do what you want. But when you cross the line and interfere, I mean, if you want to protest what the law and what they're doing, there's another way of doing it, and that has to be done again, much like what we're trying to do at Convention of States. You have to go in and change things.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, David Punt, as a matter of fact, also does our Dave's Daily Dose, and he's sent us another one, and it kind of has to do with the protests and the sanctuary cities and so forth. So.
We're gonna get a second. We're gonna get a second dose tonight. Is what
a second dose of David here, and the title of his daily dose here is "Rioters Have a How-To Manual," and this is interesting. So let's listen to him.
Bring him on.
I don't know whose idea this was, but I like it. I'm not driving to Minneapolis anytime soon to get a cup of coffee and a donut on the Minnesota National Guard, but if I was in the area, I would. Members of the Minnesota Guard are handing out coffee and donuts, and from the pictures, they're Dunkin' Donuts and Dunkin' Coffee. Not bad. This is Dave's Daily Dose on BrokenRoadRadio.com. I'm David Allen Punt. And the Fox News story says the guardsmen and women are serving the folks blowing whistles and shooting cell phone video at federal law enforcement. Maybe they figure that if someone is eating a donut in one hand and holding coffee in the other, it's tough to blow whistles and shoot video. And from various independent journalist sources, that's not covered in the manual. Independent journal Cam Higbee posted what looks like a 17-page manual on how to protest against law enforcement, federal and otherwise, and even includes information on who to call if you get your own zip-tied handcuffs and a night in the pokey, even a choice of attorneys with their office phone numbers, ready and eager to help you process those get-out-of-jail-free cards. The manual also outlines how to go on patrol, to make sure you take your whistle, maybe even an extra, what to look for, who to report a law enforcement sighting to, and how to call for backup. The Vigilante Manual goes into a number of different roles individuals can play in this vigilante effort, like mobile patrol, foot patrol, stationary patrol, dispatch, and license plate monitoring. Wait, license plate monitoring? Somehow the manual indicates that license plates can be checked from anywhere in the country, a function normally restricted to law enforcement. U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche told Fox News that Jakey Fry and Timmy Waltz have been handed subpoenas to explain why they seem to be encouraging Minnesota citizens to react when they see federal law enforcement officers. Jakey said on X that he will not be intimidated and that his focus remains on keeping our city safe. Do the mayor and the governor know about the manual? I'm thinking the guard will need a lot more donuts and coffee before all this is over. So far, Homeland Security has reported it's arrested just over 10,000 illegal aliens. I'm David Allen Punt.
There you go.
Yep. How-to manual. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
This is what I was kind of alluding to a little bit earlier. Our CEO, Mark Meckler, on his Sunday night Battle Cry podcast, talked about, you've probably heard this, how the protesters have been organized, and they've taken these licenses. They have a database. They post where ICE agents are going to be, where they should go, what they should do, blah blah blah, and apparently, and there is a website set up where this information is posted, and it's stopice.net. Stopice.net. Apparently now it's been hacked. It's been hacked by a group of retired police law professionals and a mix of other individuals, and they have actually supposedly hacked this website, and they're making public the names and so forth of all the individuals involved in this. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is going to tone down the protest efforts up in Minneapolis. We'll see. But I thought that was very interesting.
It's interesting, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, just thought
they need to, once that's done, then we need to start posting the funders and the people that are supplying the money behind this, and eventually put some of them ties on those wrists, because I think this has gone on too long, and it goes right back to some of the Black Lives Matters. You can track all this back through all these so-called peaceful protests, and yes. And really it's criminal.
Yeah. Changing topics here.
Yep.
Been talking to Gary Harbaugh, our kind of our financial guy, legal/financial guy. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him about our national debt, and I can remember years ago when we looked into this. I'm talking about years ago when the national debt was like 5 trillion, 10 trillion. I looked into it, and I remember seeing a breakdown of what percentage of that debt was owned by whom. And so I asked Gary to take a look at that again. I was most interested in the amount of our debt owned by foreign countries. I thought that was at years ago when we looked into this, I think the percentage was like maybe 5 to 9% of the national debt was foreign owned. And I think Gary found some interesting information here on this now. So let's bring up what Gary has got for us here on the national debt. Okay.
Sounds good.
Hi, it's Gary, and I want to talk about who holds the federal debt. And as you can see from this chart to my right, there's this is from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. They publicized this. They show the debt from a few months back, which was actually in 2023, it was about $32 trillion. Of course, today it's about $38.6 trillion. And so even these other two lines are extended a bit. And we're going to talk about who holds the debt. This lower dotted line here represents debt held by federal agencies and trusts, and that's about $7.5 trillion, and that's intergovernmental debt and so forth held by the Social Security Administration, primarily other federal retirement systems, and so forth. So that's a big chunk of the debt. Then they show this upper line. This is debt held by the public, and that was the third quarter of 2025. That's a little over $30 trillion. And rolled into the public, I think, is debt held by foreign governments and foreign entities because they are non governmental. And then also included in that is debt held by the Federal Reserve itself. And so the Fed owns a big chunk of that debt. We're going to talk more about that. The foreign debt, again, according to this same Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, they have the federal debt held by foreign entities, as of right now, is a little over $9 trillion. That's about 24% of all of the federal debt, and that level has been rising. And the reason that so many foreign entities hold U.S. debt is quite simple. They use foreign debt in trade. So if you're a foreign government, foreign business, whatever it is, and you have money, you have reserves, you can hold those reserves in a number of different ways. But if you want to spend them, you need to hold them in U.S. debt. So in your household, you can have money as cash in your pocket. You can spend, or you can have, canned goods in the cupboard. Canned goods in the cupboard are good, but you can't spend them. You need cash. The same way, foreign entities, foreign governments, foreign corporations, they need U.S. Treasury debt because they can transfer that debt to buy things on the international market. So if you want to buy a tanker load of crude oil coming from the Middle East or wherever it may come from, that is to be paid for. You don't pay for it by writing a check when it arrives. It's typically paid for by a transfer of U.S. Treasury securities from the buyer to the seller. It takes place on a system that's been set up. It's called the SWIFT system for transferring these international money transfers. And the transfers actually take place of U.S. Treasury securities because they're extremely liquid. Everybody knows what they're worth. Everybody knows they will be paid when they're due. Mostly short-term Treasury securities due within months or maybe a few years at the most. But that's how the system pays. That's why foreign entities hold U.S. debt, because they want something that's very spendable. The federal debt held by the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank actually falls into that category of privately held. The name Federal Reserve Bank leads people to believe the Fed is part of the government. It's not. It's sort of a half breed. It's actually owned privately. The president gets to appoint the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, so it sort of makes it appear to be quasi-public. When it was set up, it also has to pay its profits to the U.S. Treasury. So it almost seems like it's owned by the government, but it's not owned by the government. It's privately owned. Right now, it has accumulated billions and billions of dollars in losses So it will not be paying any money to the U.S. Treasury for years and years to come until all of those losses are covered. That's a whole nother topic. But what I want to talk about is the Fed right now holds about $4.5 trillion in debt at its, which is 12% of the federal debt. At its peak, it held about $6.25 trillion in federal debt. That was in the first quarter of 2022, and at that time, it was actually about 21% of all the federal debt outstanding. And what happened during the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, and during the COVID, uh, Congress declared these to be emergencies. And during these emergencies, the Fed was allowed to directly purchase Treasury securities. Directly loan money to the federal government is really what it amounts to. Normally, the Fed does not loan money directly to the government. It purchases Treasury securities on the open market, and that affects the level of interest rates. By being aggressive in purchasing, they force the interest rates down. By pulling back, they let interest rates rise. But when they purchase directly from the U.S. Treasury, it's just a direct creation of new money by the Fed. It's given to the Treasury to spend. This is why inflation happens, because when new money is created by the Fed, um, that new money adds to the money supply, government spends it, and it creates inflation. So, anyway, the national debt is large, it's growing, it is out of control, clearly, and the level of interest on the debt is so high right now that it's almost going to be impossible to see the debt go downward without some dramatic cuts in spending, or maybe just the elimination of fraud by the Somalis in Minnesota. I don't know. But the debt is huge, and the interest on the debt is so large that it is very damaging to our economy. That continues to grow, and it's going to be so bad that it's almost out of control, in the sense that we're running out of time to fix the problem. And again, that's why we need a convention of states to put limits on federal spending. Without limits, the problem is just going to continue to grow. I'm Gary, and that's how I see it.
The way I see it, Dale, is boy, Richard Nixon did us no good service by pulling out the fact that everything should have been backed by gold.
Yeah.
Allowing the feds to just create money and print, pull out their money printer has gotten us into this hole. And I don't see any way out.
This is one of our main pillars of the resolution that we put forward, calling for a convention of states, and it's a huge problem, and I don't know. I have no confidence that Washington D.C. will solve this problem. I think it's going to have to be at the states. It's going to have to be through the states. Anyway, kind of a downer there, I guess, huh? So let's start wrapping it up here. We are really gone over time this evening, but I just want to start wrapping things up. Just so you know, we're trying to address issues through the COS perspective, and that issue on the national debt is a prime example of the COS perspective, like I said. But so many of the other things that we try to address, we try to apply the COS perspective. So that's what we're trying to do here. Folks, if you're looking to try and find us on the internet, the easiest way to find us is go to our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. So you can search on the YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. Don't search on COS today. Search on and go to our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. There you'll find us. You can see us live, and you can see past broadcasts and a whole host of other information. So I just want to make everyone aware of that issue. If you have any comments or questions about our broadcast this evening, drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Well, Ken, with that said, it's time to wrap things up. Any comments or anything from our viewers that we need to take a look at?
Well, no, just a couple of things. Obviously that we're contributed to what we had talked about in a couple of earlier segments, most of which we've covered. I did put the link to the YouTube channel in the chat, so that's there. People want to follow that to find the YouTube channel as well.
Okay. All right. Good. I keep forgetting to make that point. So
that's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why you pay me the big bucks, man.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, we'll consider that at Christmas bonus time.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, Ken, have a good evening and good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We enjoy doing this. I hope you enjoy our program. We're now here every Monday night. We've discontinued the roundtable that we were doing once a month on the fourth Monday. So every Monday is the regular COS Today broadcast, just like we brought to you this evening. So with that said, everyone, good night. Have a good night.
Stay warm.
Marengo Mike here with a reminder of the importance of this year as we continue to grow the grassroots army of volunteers and the mission of using the Constitution to fix the ills of our government. Use the QR code if you haven't signed the petition and consider using your talents to become an active volunteer.